Hello viewers! In this video I'm going to talk about an important information and update if you are running Unify Network Application locally in a Docker or container environment. Because I'm going to show this now. Recently I updated my Unify controller application and there was a very important thing which I by accident saw in the logs. Let me just go over here in Portainer. On my stacks I have a Unify stack, and if I go over here and call up the logs of the Unify controller, there is this particular message. It says, from 24.01.01 this image will be deprecated and it will no longer be updated. I was a little bit shocked and until I saw the message underneath, which says, please migrate to our Unify Network Application image instead. Okay. Although there is still a little bit of time, I suggest to do this switch as soon as possible, and in this video I'm going to show you how this is going to work. If this video is helpful or if it's at least entertaining, please consider giving me a like right now, because that doesn't only help this video but the entire channel to position itself properly inside the YouTube algorithm, and it also makes sure that more people are aware of this situation. But now let's dive right in and look at the preconditions, how it can be applied, and the whole procedure. By the way, I'm doing this the first time myself right now, so if I run into any problems, you will be the first ones to know about it and how I get around it. Okay, they are saying there is a particular link which we can just put into our clipboard by marking it and copying it with Command Control C. And now we just open a new tab in our web browser and we go just exactly here. Okay, we're now on the Linux server Docker Unify Network Application GitHub page, which just tells us, okay, there is this this app, and yeah, lots of things. And here we have the section saying migration from Unify controller. And if you have been using the Mongoless variant of the current image, nothing bad is going to happen. You can just replace basically the image name and you can just continue. However, if you are, like me, using the version with integrated Mongo database, we are out of luck and we have the situation that, as they say, you cannot perform an in-place upgrade from an existing Unify controller container. You must run a backup and then a restore. Okay, that's not too bad, I guess. So we have to start from scratch, but we can do a restore. But with restore, there is one little, not really caveat, but one thing which you always have to consider, and this is why I'm saying it is important to do this, perform this step rather sooner than later, because you can only do a backup restore between the same versions of Unify Network Application. So if this has run out, basically out of support, what we currently have, and we only get a newer version here on this Linux server side, then we are out of luck and we really have to start from scratch. So rather sooner than later, as I already said, and everything starts with a good backup, which we're going to do first right now. Let's go over to my Unify Network Application. I'm logged on to the main dashboard and I'm going over to the settings and then the submenu system. Now we have this picture here and there is one point which is called backups. Let's click on that, and here is a point which is called download. If we click on download, we get this particular menu, and here we can basically select what we want to download, and depends on you. We can just download the settings and then we get basically all our configurations from our access points firewalls everything. Or we can also download it with history. Some people might need that, particularly if you're running this in a professional environment. Then I would definitely say at least download a backup of the last 30 days, because then you also get basically your history. And if your customer asks for certain historical data, then you are not out of luck, and this will be very helpful. Depending on your situation, you can go up to basically no limit. So basically it takes everything which it has, which I'm going to do now, because why not? Rather I have it than I need it. And now I click on download, and the whole thing is basically in a preparation phase now, and collecting all the data left, right, and center. And yeah, depending on your environment, this might be a bigger file or a smaller file, and it might also take longer than what we've seen here. So we already have our backup downloaded. It's on my machine. Everything's hunky-dory on this side. Now let's hop over back to the GitHub page, and they say we should actually use Docker Compose. I would suggest to do the same. And obviously, they do not include MongoDB. And that is one of the things which are particular to this new deployment way of deploying it. They deploy, or they say we have to basically put that database or install it separately. We can do that in the same Docker Compose file, no problem. And I will show you how to do that, because I've, as usual, done the work for you guys, and I've prepared everything, and you can download the whole script and everything from the link below this video, in the video description. It is zipped, so I suggest download it now, unpack it, and open both files in a text editor. I'm saying text editor because please do not use a word processor. Word processors tend to prettify things or beautify things, depending on how you want to look at it, and that leads to mingling of certain characters, and afterwards that whole thing will not work anymore. Use a plain old text editor. I recommend using VS Codium, and if you're interested in using that as well, there's the link also in the video description. So you do that now, and I'm going to quickly explain how this thing with the database is. Very important is the first sentence. Formerly, only MongoDB 3.6 through 4.4 are supported. However, it has been reported that newer versions will work. And if you read further, they actually expect you to use a newer version, because release 4.4 is really old. The current version is version 7. So you see there is quite a discrepancy, and as far as I understand it, these things are downwards compatible. They say make sure you pin your database image version and do not use latest, very important, as MongoDB does not support automatic upgrades between major versions. No problem for us, because I'm going to pin the release. Also, if you are using the official MongoDB container, you can create your user using an init-mongo.js file with the following contents. That's why there are two files in my zip. One, of course, the YAML file, and one, this .js file, where I've already put in the certain, or the right, almost the right data for you to just use it. And as I said before, I'm going to combine MongoDB and Unifi Network Application in the same YAML file. And let's have a look at this thing right now, because it's really cool. I've opened it for you right now. Let's go through it top to bottom. First is the Unifi database release, or service rather, and I have decided to go with release 7. That should actually last a while, and we are not in the situation that we have to perform a database upgrade in the near future. So I hope this will work. As I say, I haven't tried it before, so just go with me in this experiment. container name will be Unifi DB, and now we see the section with the volumes. Since we can't do an in-place upgrade, we have to create new volume mappings for ourselves, and I will show you this in the example of my synology. Let's go over there, quickly log in, open File Station, go over to the Docker folder. This folder has been automatically created when you installed the Container Manager on your synology. If you don't know what Container Manager actually is and how to get it running, I have a video for you which is available here, in which I am explaining how to install Container Manager and prepare everything left, right and center to make life a little bit easier with it. And also I'm explaining a few things, for example, what is the difference between Container Manager and Docker, so that you have the basic know-how for all these things, which I'm going to explain right now. You can switch over to this video, watch it. It's, I think, 20 minutes, and come back to here, and everything will be as clear as mud. As I said, we have to create a new volume mapping, and for volume mapping we need a folder. Let's click on Create Folder, and now it will be Unifi -NWA for Network Application. Let's go inside this Unifi Network Application folder and see in my YAML file what the actual mapping will be like. And it will be Unifi -NWA. We have already created that, and then the folder data. So let's go back to this thing and create a new subfolder, create folder, which is called data. Now, how do we get the full path name for our script? That's very easy. Right-click on this newly created folder, go to Properties, and here next to Location you have the full folder name. Mark it like I do right now. Now press Command-C or Control-C, depending on whether you're on Mac or Windows. Now the thing is copied into the clipboard. Now we can click on Cancel because we don't need this now any longer. Let's go back to our script and now mark everything on the left-hand side up to the first colon. Press Command-V or Control-V, and you've now put in the proper path name for our mapping, our volume mapping. Volume mappings in Docker Compose are basically divided in two parts. The divider is this colon. The right-hand part describes what it is like in the container itself, and we always leave it as it is. On the left-hand side, we put our own volume name, basically the path to the correct folder. Now we have the situation with this init-mongo.js file, which will be under the same main Unifi folder, so we can basically copy this up to /data. Same thing as before, Command-C, Command-V, and now we have the proper name for this folder. Now the next step which we have to perform is to copy this file into this volume mapping. Let's go back to our file station, go into the Unifi-NWA folder, not into the data folder, into the NWA folder. Now go to your Finder or Explorer, and from here just grab this init-mongo.js file and drop it into your file station. Now, of course, we have to do a few things with that. If you followed my video, which I mentioned earlier, you can right-click on this file and open it with a text editor. It should look similar to what we see right here. It's a pretty long thing. And if you have enough space, you can just extend the width of this window so that you can see the whole line. Yes, it is only one line, makes things much easier. The database name will be Unifi. I suggest you leave that. The username for our MongoDB, which we are going to be using, will also be Unifi. And now the password, it is already called change me, so please change it to something a little bit more secret and not as easy to guess as what it is right here. And for the rest, you can leave everything as it is. For the rest, you can just leave that. If you changed the password, please, or if you changed anything, please save your changes. Close this window and everything's fine. So let's go back to our script. We've now done our part with the volume mappings. We get to the point of restart. I personally prefer restart to leave on the option unless stopped. If you don't like that, you can also set it to always. Now we get to the section of networks. And that brings me to the next important topic. I am using MacVLANs here. So the database service as well as the network application service get their own individual IP addresses out of a particular range. This is called MacVLAN. And if you don't know MacVLANs at all yet, I suggest you watch this video right now. It is called MacVLAN, the Ultimate Guide. And it is 30 minutes of really compact information. But if you watch this, you will be maybe not an expert in MacVLANs, but everything will be much, much clearer. And the basis for everything which we're going to be doing will be in place already. So things will work immediately. If you don't know what it is and you don't have the preparations done already, what I'm going to explain now will not work for you. So please watch this video, because afterwards everything will be just running smoothly. Okay, and if you already know all these things about MacVLANs and you followed my other videos already, just forget what I just said, just follow here. Please provide an IP address out of your MacVLAN range. It will be different than here, and of course it has to be a free IP address, because duplicate IP addresses is an absolute no-go. Let's go to the next section, which is the Unifi Network Application service. This here is our new image. This is the one which we will be using in the future, and we will be going with the pin to latest, because we assume that we always want to be on the latest release. All right, let's go further to the environment. There are two variables which we have to look at. This is PUID and PGID. That's basically the mapping for permissions from the container to our container host. Particularly important is particularly important for volume mappings, because we are using one particular user to run our Docker or container, and another user maybe to create our volumes or folders for our volumes. And there is discrepancy, and these two variables basically help us to do a user mapping here. That's also very easy to find out which PUID or PGID we have to enter here. Just go over to your DSM, open the control panel, and open the task scheduler. Create a new scheduled task, user-defined script. Give it a name like get PUID. And for the user, use exactly the same user which you used to create the folders in the previous step. Take away the tick mark next to enabled, because we only wanted to run it once, or if we forgot what PUID and PGID actually is. Click on schedule, click on run on the following date, put this to some date in the past, and make sure that repeat is set to do not repeat. Go over to task settings. In run command, enter the command ID, nothing else. The only thing which is interesting for you, for us right now, and click on OK to save this thing. Now, put your mark back onto the new line with the newly created task. Click on Run. Of course, we can answer this question with OK, because we're here to run this. Now put your mark back on this line. This is just like it is. Click on Action and View Result. But most probably the number next to UID will be different. In your mind, you can just put a P in front of UID and a P in front of PGID, and you know what you have in front of you. So just make sure to remember these two figures, like 1026 and 100. As I said, it might be something different on your side. Go back to the script and adjust these two values accordingly. Next, we have the time zone. You can set this to leave it as it is or set it to your particular time zone where you are. I personally leave it on etc/UTC. Now we have the section for the MongoDB password and user thing. If you changed things in this file before, the init mongo.js, then you have to change it here accordingly. If you don't do that, things will not work. Okay? Just remember to do what I just said. If you have a different username, put it in here. Adjust your password to what you put into this file. You can leave the Mongo host and the Mongo port. And if you change the database name, you also have to change it here. Next, there are two parameters which are completely optional. If you find it is not working for you, just hash them out. The same applies to Mongo TLS and Mongo auth source. I've already hashed them out for us. Next, we have the volume mapping, which we have to do right now. We've already done the first part. Now we have to create a further subfolder, which is going to be called config. Let's go back to our file station. We can close this here because we don't need it. Let's go to the file station, back to the Docker folder, Unifi-NWA. This is the new one which we created. Remember to use that one instead of the old one. And now we create a new subfolder which will be called config. Now right-click on this newly created folder name, properties, copy this location as we did it before, and go back to the script, paste it like I do. Volume mapping done. Since we are using MacVLANs, the port mappings are irrelevant for us. I'd leave it in nevertheless as a reminder and as a piece of documentation. So if I need to look up which port is our network application is going to be listening on, I have a reference here. If you are not using MacVLANs, you have to uncomment all these ports. Okay? Then restart as before. You can change it to always if you prefer that, otherwise leave it as it is. Under networks, please supply a free IP address from your MacVLAN range. Then we have the section networks themselves, and here you will have to adjust the name of your MacVLAN to the one which you used. I have used MVL-200. The MacVLAN on your side is certainly called something else. Please adjust it here as well. Now, save your changes if you did any. I'm sure you did, so that things don't get lost. And now we can go to the next step and implement this whole thing. Before I continue with this video, I would like to say a few words about how you can support this channel. There are Patreon memberships available. I have 3 levels. All my Patreon members can enjoy my videos completely free of ads, and I'm answering all your questions and comments on Patreon with priority. There are 2 further membership levels, Plus and Plus Plus. There you get 10, respectively 25% discount on my consulting rates. And if you would like to book a session with me, there is a booking link in the video description. Of course, there is a completely free YouTube subscription as well. And if you haven't done so, please take your time now to click on subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell, because then you will be notified each time I release a new video. Also, if this video is helpful, or if it's at least entertaining, please leave me a like, because that will help this video and the channel to position itself better in the YouTube algorithm. I suggest to press Command A on Mac or Control A on Windows to mark that whole script. Now put it into your clipboard with Command C or Control C. Next we go back to, or go over to our Portainer. I suggest to, at this point, go to the old stack, the old Unifi stack, and to stop it, because otherwise there might be a clash, at least with the IP addresses, because most probably you are going to recycle the IP addresses from the old Unifi controller to the new one, and also there might be a clash with the adoption of your devices. So just let's play it safe, and let's stop this stack. Your network will not be affected at this point at all. Your devices will be running without the controller fine, and everything will be cool once we have our stack, our new stack in place. Just make sure that all the containers are stopped. Now let's go back to stacks in Portainer. Click on Add Stack and call it something you will recognize, but it has to be a different name than the Unifi controller before. So I call it Unifi-NWA. Now position your cursor inside this web editor, press Command V or Control V. Now we have everything which we previously copied from our text editor in this section here in Portainer. If you want, you can give it another glance if everything is done properly. And if you are happy, you can click on Deploy the stack. This will definitely take a while, because we are not only downloading the new version or another version of our Unifi Network app, but also from the latest version of this version 7 in this case of MongoDB. So don't be surprised if this step takes a few minutes. Portainer has just come back after a few minutes, and it seems that the deployment of Unifi Network Application has worked fine. Let's just have a look. I'm going to this stack, Unifi-NWA, and I see both of my containers in the state of running. One is Unifi database, this is Mongo, and the other one is my network application itself. As usual, I like to look into my log files. Let's go there right now. Click on logs, and here is the output from MongoDB, which looks fine for me right now. I don't see anything. Oh well. If you want to scroll up, you have to turn on off auto refresh logs, otherwise it always pops to the bottom, which is quite annoying. So let's just scroll upwards and just glance over everything. Maybe we find something which is a little bit disturbing, but there is nothing on the MongoDB side. Let's go back one step and have a look at the Unifi Network Application. Go into the logs here, and things seem to be working fine. Okay, so now we should be able to log on to our newly created Unifi Network app. Let's go here and open a new tab, and then it's going to be https://192.168.200.208443. Your IP address will definitely be different, because as we talked about it earlier, you have different MAC VLAN setup and hence a different IP address for this. Let's open this. Of course, this connection is not private, not a problem. Let's go there, because it's our own, we know that. and we have a completely new installation of Unifi Network Application. So since we don't want to start from scratch completely, we created a backup earlier, and here is the link, restore server from a backup. Very good. Let's click there. Click on upload backup file, and it ended up in my downloads folder. So I'm gonna go there, downloads, and it found the proper file immediately because it ends on .unf, and it's the only file in my with that ending in my download folder. So I can just make sure it's the right date. Yes, it is. Mark it, click on upload, and it will be hopefully applied. Here is the confirmation which is asked, and I can confirm, and the backup, basically the restore, is in process. It will take some time depending on how much you had to put into your backup, if you have a complex environment, and if you saved a lot of historical information, then of course it might take quite some time until this thing comes back. The restore just came back, and I can log on to my new system. Seems that it still needs a while. And now even my two-factor authentication has been recognized. I'm using the, as you can see, the Unifi verify thingy. Yes, it's me. Here we are. System uptime is around 2 minutes. This makes sense. And I've got my complete environment back. Let's quickly check. Topology looks as everything has been found. Traffic thing is also working. Let's look at the devices. Devices are also all on board. Clients also looks good. Everything I changed as well has been recognized. Is my hotspot also back? Landing page. Yeah, everything seems to have been working, and with this we can also confirm that MongoDB release 7 is also working for our Unifi Network Application. This brings me to the end of this video, and if this was helpful or at least entertaining, it would be awesome if you would leave me a like, because that helps this channel tremendously. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. Bye-bye.